Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I've been gone for a few days, didn't bring my laptop with me, so I've got a bunch of videos to do. Anyway, this is kind of an introduction to those videos, a little bit about the trip, a little bit about the way you travel, some of the costs in traveling in the Philippines, and I met a couple Japanese girls who are here in Cebu City, Cebu, the Philippines, studying English, I believe for 5 months. And turns out that they are scuba divers, so they invited me along to go on a scuba diving trip down in Moalboal, which is a very popular area here in Cebu on the west side of the island. And the guy driving the car actually picked us up. My kind of a package deal for a bunch of us. My cost was 3,000 pesos, or about $60. That included the ride down to Moalboal from Cebu City, about a 2.5 hour drive in his car. Included the rental of all the equipment that I needed, the boat, and going out to Pescador Island, which is a very popular small island right off Moalboal, to go diving. And I left about 4:30 a.m. Sunday, got back I think 12:30, 1 o'clock Thursday morning, I think, so about 4 days. What do you think that would cost? 4 days, two resorts, one hotel, eating and lodging, and renting a motorbike. First of all, thanks to Google Earth for supplying this cool app, Google Earth app. You put on your computer or your phone, your tablet, and you can zoom in, you can search the world over until you meet your true love. Anyway, my trip started in Cebu City. Cebu, this island here, Long Island, is Cebu. Cebu City is the province, the second largest city in the Philippines after Manila. And I took that car ride. Moalboal is right down in this area here. And I took that car ride down here to Car, which happens to be a large, lots of shoe manufacturing factories there. Cross up over the mountains and down here to Moalboal. And dove off here, and then this is Pescador Island over here, just very close to Moalboal. And the girls, we got there. We probably went diving about 9:30 or so. And after we came back and cleaned up the equipment, all that type of thing, I insisted on buying the four girls that were with me. I insisted on buying them lunch. They were just going to go back on snacks they'd brought along. And so I bought them lunch, and then they went back the same day. But once I got out of town, it's good to stay out of town for a few days because it's sometimes difficult just to get up and go. Uh, you get too comfortable where you're living. And anyway, so I stayed at a resort overnight there, and I'll give you some more details here in a little bit. And then wandered around there a bit, took some videos, and I'll have lots of videos over the coming days. And then I took a bus ride down here. I took to about here, Santander, and I was going to take a ferry across over here. It was suggested that I come down here to this port instead, and it would bring me much closer to Dumaguete, and so I did that. Stayed there overnight at a hotel. Wandered around quite a bit in Dumaguete. In my opinion, of Dumaguete, it's a much smaller than Cebu City, but it's also much cleaner. Many of the sidewalks are in a good enough repair that you can actually walk on them. So many sidewalks in Cebu City are in disrepair, and that's a topic for another day. And about midday the next day, I went down to the port and I found a ferry. There's actually about three or four ferries that go across here. This is Siquiour Island, sometimes considered a haunted island. But anyway, I came across here to Siquiour. They do have an airport there for small planes. but I did not fly. I took one of the ferries across here to Siquiour. Stayed overnight at a resort on the beach. Rented a motorbike the next day. Went around the island. Spent about 6 hours going around the island. And dropped the motorbike off at a different port because the Siquiour port didn't go. You can go back to Dumaguete if you want. You might even be able to go back to Santander. I'm not sure. But this other port here had ferries that go to Tagbilaran City, which is what I wanted to do. But I got back to that port too late. The office was closed to sell tickets. The ship had gone without me. So I ended up, my only other choice basically was, if I wanted to leave that night, was to take a ferry back to Santander over here, get on a bus, and then take about a 5-hour bus ride back up here to Cebu City. And I got in, I think, 12:30, 1 o'clock last night, something like that. And I will give some more details on just some of the little things that affect the cost of trips and the timing of trips. Sometimes you get to a port or you want a bus and it might not come for an hour or two or 10 hours. Ferry offices might be closed down. You didn't get there in time to buy a ticket. It's not like a bus where you can buy a ticket on a bus. Once they close their office, you're pretty much out of luck. You're not going to get on the boat, is my understanding. But anyway, the dive itself, the transportation to Moalboal, and the dive, the rental equipment, and all that type of thing cost me 3,000 pesos or 60 US dollars. I consider that, that was a group package, consider that a pretty good deal. The guy that took us out diving is part Japanese, part Filipino, and deals almost exclusively with Japanese, and I'd be happy to give out his contact information to anybody who would like that. But he takes people diving many different places. He's just under I think his next level up is to become an instructor. I was very happy with the dive. And down here to Moalboal, about a 2.5 hour ride. And we end up renting equipment. He's set up with a place called Nelson's Scuba Dive School, and I believe they are the oldest first scuba operation in Moalboal, from what I understand. But anyway, he set up the trip, and we had our equipment. We went over here. This is Pescador Island here, and I'll zoom in there a bit. The resolution isn't that good, but many of the dive sites, anybody wanting to snorkel or dive, once you get away from the shore, you go out to an island, and those islands attract different types of fish. And I think we got off someplace over in here, and we scuba dived over in here. Someplace over in here, we hit a current that was strong enough where you were paddling, swimming pretty good just to stay still. Put it that way. But a very, very good experience going out there. And then also another nice thing about Moalboal is there are millions and millions of sardines, schools of sardines that come in through this area where it just gets a little bit deeper out here. And there are many, many people who don't even go out and scuba dive out to the islands. There's quite a bit of fish, sea turtles near shore, and the sardines near shore that you can view just snorkeling out from there. Anyway, I stayed not at the June Dive Resort, but almost right next to Nelson's dive school. There's a very plain, simple resort right on the sea called Cora's. And I stayed at Cora's for 1,000 pesos for the night, and or 20 US dollars. In the morning, I was able to get up and walk right out put my snorkeling gear on and go out and watch the sardines. Like I said, the girls went right back the same day. Once I'm out of town, I want to stay out of town for a while, and that was a good opportunity for me. And I will show you some video of a few of these areas that I walked through. It's quite a long area through here. I did not uh, visit the whole area. A relatively small town. Uh, but the next day, as I wanted to catch a bus out here, and the next day the tricycle drivers quoted me 150 pesos to 200 pesos, so $3 to $4 to take me out here. Uh, I don't mind paying a little extra for convenience, but these guys were trying to gouge me a little bit, I think, according to what the locals told me. So I walked a few blocks and found a motorbike driver, and he quoted me 30 pesos to take me out there. And I've got a kind of like a backpack I was carrying with me, and that was easy enough to carry on the motorbike as well. I gave him 50 pesos for not trying to gouge me. Took me out here, and then you just sit and wait for the bus that you want. Series buses are very popular in Cebu and different parts of the Philippines. Some are air conditioned, some are not. I think I waited probably 40 minutes or so. It came by. It was full. It was already standing room only. A couple people got off. Uh, about a dozen people are trying to get back on, and I think I got on, and I think they pushed one other person onto the bus, and they actually kind of shoved me up front a little ways, and I found I got half of a seat for the first 30 minutes or so, and then somebody got up, and I was able to get a better seat. But you get that. And it was warm, but it was manageable. Once we're moving, there was enough air flowing through all the windows that were down where it was reasonable. Now, my one thing I did do, one of my costs, the girls were going to leave about lunchtime after all the equipment was cleaned up and put away, and I insisted, because they were nice enough to invite me along, I insisted that I buy them all lunch. So there was 3 girls, myself, and then our dive guy. And he was busy doing stuff, so I bought a meal for 4 of us at one of the little places. And unfortunately, there was a brownout, a blackout there. We had no electricity there until like 5 p.m. Fortunately, a lot of the restaurants are used to that, so they use gas burners, and we were able to get a meal, but it was extremely warm and uncomfortable. We finally got a table kind of on the edge of the little pathway there, so that there was a little bit of breeze. But that cost me 690 pesos for that meal, or about $13.80 to feed 4 of us. But then anyway, the next day I went out, got the motorbike out here, got on the bus. The bus trip to Santander down south was 77 pesos. There again, you don't buy those ahead of time. You get on the bus. Generally, not all places in the Philippines, but usually there's a conductor there, goes up and down and asks you where you're going, punches out a ticket for you, comes back a little later and collects the fee. Well, 77 pesos, or about $1.50 US, to take me down to about here, Santander. And what I found out when I got off is the conductor, the guy that takes your money on the bus, and there was a motorbike driver out here, suggested that maybe I wanted to go down to the port down here instead. And because the ferry here takes you across over in this area. So you're still quite a ways outside of Dumaguete. So you either need to take a tricycle from out here or find a bus there again, which is probably overcrowded already. So I paid the motorbike driver 50 pesos, $1 to take me, I don't know, 10 kilometers or so down to this port. And I had time to eat at that port. And when the ferry came in, he comes across over to this area over in here. And see if I can find the name. To Cebulan. Cebulan. I don't always pronounce those properly. But anyway, and then it's about a 10-kilometer ride in here. Here again, the motorbike drivers, seeing that I'm a foreigner and probably don't know what prices are, tried to charge me 150 and 200 pesos, which there again, it's not very much, but I had talked to the locals and I understand that it should cost about 100 pesos, I believe, if I remember correctly. So it's not the cost, it's the principle of the thing sometimes. When you feel the attitude, you feel that you're getting gouged a little bit, even though it's not very much money. I don't mind paying a little extra. Motorbike driver took me down here to Dumaguete to the hotel that I mentioned, C&L, for 100 pesos, $2. And I did not have a reservation because I wasn't sure when I was going to arrive for sure or how long I was going to stay. I had heard that. I'm a little bit familiar with C&L. They've got two places, one close to the sea, one a few blocks inland. I went to the one inland. Um, that cost me 1,150 pesos for the night, or 23 US dollars. The clean, it was quiet. I didn't have any windows. It had a split type air conditioning unit, and they had that included a breakfast buffet. It wasn't anything fancy, but they had a guy cooking eggs the way you wanted them, or close to the way you wanted them, and fair enough price for that in the morning. Gave me some time to walk around Dumaguete, and there again, my thoughts of Dumaguete. It's much smaller than Cebu City, much cleaner than Cebu City. You see trash cans. They do have a boardwalk along here. You see trash cans where people are allowed, and you have signs saying there's going to be a fine if you throw trash. Um, just another information. Valencia up here is up in the mountains a ways. I know a couple of foreigners who live up there. Much cooler. The way you get cooler in the Philippines generally is you go up in elevation, and there's people that live up there and enjoy it up there. Use a lot less air conditioning up there. Transportation up and back can get a little tricky because, from what I understand, there's not as many for hire type vehicles to take you in and out of Dumaguete. So you have to get to know some of those drivers and get their cell numbers and call them when you need their services. So I think this, and there again, just so I'm getting the information out, this is called the Liloan. I believe this is Liloan, and then further north up here is Santander, the other, here it is, Beto Ferry, that's what it's called, the Beto Ferry, and brings you just in under Amalon. And you can go on maps like this and you can find out where the ferries go, and it can be important in your planning. So in the morning, about midday the next day, I caught a ferry out of Dumaguete to take me over to Siquiour Island. And that ferry that took me right into the Siquiour port, which is the capital of Siquiour Island, cost me 115 pesos, 100 for the ferry and 15 for the terminal fee. I believe there's a terminal fee at every port you go to, so a lot of times, and I've made this mistake, you go buy your ticket for the ferry, then you try to walk into the terminal, and they say, let's see your your terminal fee ticket, and then you have to go back and buy the terminal fee ticket. They'll staple it to your other ticket. Anyway, here again, when I got to Siquiour, I had no idea where I wanted to go, what part of the island. I had met a Norwegian fella that lives north of Dumaguete, has been to Siquiour a couple times, and he said I think he said he preferred this northeast section, but I didn't know for sure. So I talked to a tricycle driver over here, and he ended up being kind of my helper, my broker, the person that got things done. And I paid a little extra for that service, and I will explain some of that to you. Um, but it was a convenience factor. I could have saved two, three, 400 pesos probably by trying to negotiate things myself. But he knew he had some knowledge and contacts that I didn't. So anyway, he suggested that we go over here to San Juan. There's a lot of resorts over in here, and find a place there. The first four resorts we stopped at were booked. I wanted a room with air conditioning. One had a room that only had a fan in it. And so the fifth one we went to, she had a room. In fact, I will give you some additional information on that later. She rents most of the rooms out on a monthly basis. I end up paying 1,500 pesos or 30 US dollars for the night, and I was right on the sea here. It's not really a swimming area or a snorkeling area, but I was on the sea. It was a sandy beach. And she usually rents those rooms out. In fact, they had kind of kitchenettes in there with glasses, utensils, and that type of thing. By the month, and by the month you get it for 3,500 pesos. So I probably paid the foreigner price, but anyway, fair enough. The mattress was comfortable, the refrigerator worked, the television had enough channels where I was able to watch a little bit as the night got and the sidewalks got rolled up a little later. And then my deal with Joseph, my broker, I will call him a broker, was that, and he was a tricycle driver. He charged me 250 pesos or 5 US dollars to take me 10 or 12 kilometers over here and help me find a place to stay. Fair enough. There's hundreds of places that have signs up around the island saying motorbike for rent, scooter for rent. I could have tried to save a little bit of money and start asking people, but he was able to provide me with and bring it to me and pick it up. A motor scooter, an automatic Honda. The next morning, we agreed to meet at 8. He brought it around to me for 350 pesos. And then I paid him, he asked for another 100 pesos because I was going to drop it off at a different place than where he was located in Siquiour. And so he brought the bike, and we went back here. I was getting another pointer. I thought I had plenty of money when I started out on this trip, and I thought that I would be able to use my credit card for rooms. Well, the room in San Juan, she would not take credit cards, wasn't set up for that, so I ended up paying her cash. And I still had enough money if I was careful to take all my ferry rides and that type of thing. But there, on Siquiour Island, there are a couple banks in the town of Siquiour. So we rode back there after he brought the motorbike, and the first bank I went to, they accepted my bank card, and I was able to get a little extra money, a little breathing room, a little comfort level. From there, I took off and spent the day. There's a couple of waterfalls I went up to, and that was interesting. Going down to the falls is easy enough. Walking back up, I kept up with my young guide, but I was huffing and puffing by the time I got back up to the top. But it was a good workout, and stopped stopped along some of the beaches along the way and just investigate and meet people. And the trip around the circumference of Siquiour Island is between 70 and 80 kilometers. So what? So around between 50 and 60 U.S. miles. And you could do that in 3 hours or less. But I spent close to 6 hours. I stopped one place up over in here. I drove way up in the mountains. There was a restaurant, coffee shop mentioned. I'd gone 3 days without brewed coffee. So when I saw the sign for brewed coffee, I went on up that mountain, got some brewed coffee, and a really great view. I will do another video about that area. Um, But anyway, I got back here, and the reason I didn't bring the bike back to Siquiour, because the ferries that leave Siquiour don't go where I want to go. This, by the way, is also called I think, Haunted Island. And I met I believe, I asked a couple of people about that. They says, no, we don't have witches, but about Easter time every year, they have some kind of strange witch type festival up here in the mountains, I guess. I don't know all the details. But anyway, the ferries that were going to where I wanted to go out of Lorena here. So I was going to leave the bike at Lorena, and the way I left it with my broker is I might stay overnight, I might keep it until the morning, or I might leave the same day, depending upon what the ferries are doing and what time I get there. Well, my intention was to go to Tagbilaran City over here on Bohol. But OceanJet over here, I got there about an hour and a half late, and the OceanJet office was closed. So I missed my boat, so to speak. I didn't see many hotels right in that area. I probably could search one out, stay overnight, but I was getting tired, and I was thinking, well, maybe I should just go home anyway. So I was going to go to Tagbilaran and spend a day or two on Bohol and Pangalao Island here. But anyway, they had a ferry leaving at 5 p.m. going back over here to Santander, back over on the west side of Cebu. And from there, I would catch a bus going north. And so the ferry going to Santander cost me 215 pesos. 200 is $4 US. It's 2.5 hour ride out of here. A rather slow ferry, but got over here, and I was expecting packed standing room only buses. There were 2 empty buses there, air-conditioned buses, waiting for the people who are getting off the ferry to take them where points beyond anyway. And so I got on the bus, and that ended up costing me, back to Cebu City, cost me 200 pesos, $4 US. And I took about 4.5 hours, I think. Because it was night, there was less traffic, and come back around this side through Oslob. That's the area where one of the areas in the Philippines where they do whale shark watching, and up through Dumaguete and Argao, and back here before 1 a.m. in the morning. Anyway, 4 days. How much did it cost? 10,995 pesos, at 50 pesos to the US dollar, $220. And I included food. I bring, it's difficult to find brewed coffee, so I bring several cans of liquid coffee with me. All my food, including the lunch I bought for the girls, $2,365, $47.47. My lodging, 2 resorts and a hotel, cost me $3,650, or $73 US. all my transportation, my motorbikes, my buses, my tricycles, my ferries, and including renting the motorbike, cost me a total of 2,295 pesos, or about 46 US dollars. So a total of 220 US dollars, 10,995 pesos. I consider that a reasonable 4 days. I try to budget about $100 a month for a trip someplace. I might go 2 months without going any place, so it kind of evens out, it seems. Anyway, this was a really fun 4 days, if not a little tiring. A little bit exhausted, I must say. I would suggest always carry liquid with you, because sometimes you can be in places where it's not quite as easy to find some bottled water or other cool drink. Plan ahead as much as possible. Ask the locals. The locals know. Even though you can't find information online on about a lot of this stuff, the locals can tell you where ferries go, what the prices of transportation, hobble hobble, and ask 2 or 3 or 4 of them. I have lots of videos coming up about this trip, and I think you'll find some of them interesting anyway. So thank you for coming along. Please like the video. Please share the video. Subscribe. Safe travels to you all wherever you're at, and we'll see you next time.